Hey Peter, who's our special guest this week?
Hey buddy, we got Jim Cressman, president of Invictus Entertainment. He manages George Canyon, Brett Kissel, Aaron Pritchett, and many others.
Hello, Okanagan. Hello, Okanagan. Hello, Okanagan. Hello, Okanagan.
David, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Peter. How are you doing?
I've been doing okay. I haven't been going too crazy yet. Welcome to episode number 2. David, take a deep breath, man.
A deep breath? I've been taking
Take a
deep
deep
breaths
breath.
every day, Peter.
Apparently, this is the cleanest the earth has been since World War II, the air quality.
Does that mean I should go outside though? Because I'm in a
Should
building
we?
right now. Yeah, should we go
should be
outside?
doing the show outside. That's what I want to tell all our guests that are watching, by the way, that thanks for watching the first couple of shows. I mean, obviously, we're doing it from our own home. There's going to be some technical issues there, so please bear with us. But we are already speaking to a lot of friends and a lot of different businesses and hotspots and such. And we want to go and do some on-location shots. So we're going to eventually get to that real soon, from afar, obviously. But David, I wanted to let you know that I found out that Oktoberfest is canceled in Germany. So they're already starting
Really?
as far as October. That's insane.
That's ridiculous though, because my dad just called. We were supposed to go to Romania at the end of May here. He just called Lufthansa and they said they refused to refund our tickets because they're still on. So the situation's shitty enough to cancel Oktoberfest, but it's not bad enough to merit us to get our tickets back to go to Romania, which stops in Germany. Well,
And
there you go.
they're even talking about canceling Halloween. So the
How do you-
kiddies might not be able to go
how do you-
outside.
how do you-
I mean, they're looking that far in advance already.
How do you cancel Halloween? Like, is that
They're
something
not
you
gonna
can
allow the kids
cancel?
to go- You can't go knocking on strangers' doors collecting candy that other people touched, I guess.
but you can deliver food to their doors as a restaurant. All right, we'll see.
We'll see what happens by October.
All
But
right,
speaking
fair
of
enough.
restaurants and such, I heard that about 20 of the top restaurateurs in British Columbia, especially around the West Coast, are getting together for, I think, 3 times in the next week or 10 days. And they're going to try to put together a blueprint of the new normal of restaurants, a new template of how restaurants are going to be. You're in the restaurant industry. What are your thoughts?
I think that's a great idea. I know there's a lot of restaurants that definitely closed fairly quickly, thinking that it might be something that blows over quickly and they get back to it. But I think it's awesome if restaurants that are doing really well with adapting and everything can actually come out with something that helps a lot of the small businesses, medium businesses decide how they can actually open up again and feel safe for themselves, their employees, and their customers.
What I've heard for what some of the ideas was they're going to be taking temperatures of all the customers before they walk in, with the laser one on the forehead. All servers and people working in the restaurant are going to be wearing masks. Tables are going to be spread even further. And an idea that I had that I've been talking to people and they seem to like it is disposable menus. This way you're not just touching the same menu and staff doesn't have to go there and clean them all the time. So we'll see where all that goes. I hope it does happen because I know there's a lot of restaurateurs out there that probably won't last another month without any business.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the loans have finally become available from the government, the $40,000 2-year no interest loans. But like you said, I mean, even with that, how long can businesses actually last? With that, it will be interesting to see. But I just got a funny idea. That's why I was smiling when you're talking about the temperature. I was thinking, because when I worked at Nature's Fair, just across the street from us here, but Nature's Fair's got locations in the Okanagan. When I worked there, I used to take the temperature of all the staff in different departments in the store using the laser pointer temperature taker, shine it on them. So yeah.
And I don't know if you heard this too, and this is starting to really piss me off as well. This happened in 9/11 when everybody started treating Middle Eastern people like assholes. I heard that an elderly Asian man on the West Coast was assaulted by people, blaming him for what's happening around the world. This is ridiculous. I mean, these morons, these cyber bullies need to find more productive things to do with their free time right now than doing that.
Yeah, I think people are afraid right now, and unfortunately, fear in times of crisis do expose people, but it also it makes them act irrationally. So that is really saddening to hear, but unfortunately, that's the way that some people actually let out the fear that they are feeling inside for themselves, for their family, for their job, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, and still sticking with COVID, you and I had this conversation a few days ago about conspiracy theories. I know
Mm.
you've been reading into that. I don't believe any of it. There's something that I found, though, that was really interesting. Dean Koontz, who wrote a book, he's written many books, but he's written a book in 1981
Mm.
that literally is freaking me out after I read it. Obviously, it's not a conspiracy. It's just somebody that had maybe the foresight. But there's a line that I'll read you after you bring up some that you've been hearing about. But I think it's time we put on our foil hats and talk about conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I mean, you'll hear many of them ranging from they first installed 5G towers in Wuhan, and that's why the coronavirus is an effect of 5G, and now it's poisoning the world from the
And
5G cell towers.
and speaking of which, Germany already had their 5G over a year and a half ago. Nothing's wrong with them. So I don't know what people are
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah. And then, um, yeah, I mean, they range from all kinds of things like the mass vaccination is going to be a way to install microchips in the population to do population control and kill off certain amounts of us because the world is too overpopulated. That there's going to be a one earth global government that's going to take over, and that's what they're doing with this. They're trying to see how obedient we are with the COVID. So yeah, there's lots of conspiracy theories. Who's to know who's to know what's real or not? All we know right now is if you told me 5 or 6 weeks ago that we'd be living through what we're living through right now, I would have laughed in your face. So
Check this out.
we'll see what turns out.
I just found the book from Dean Koontz. It's called The Eyes of Darkness, and it came out in 1981. And I'll try to read this out here. In around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. Almost more baffling than the illness itself will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it arrived to yet return a year later. And there's a part in there that says this fictional character, Li Chen, who defected to the United States, they call the stuff Wuhan 400 in the book. Isn't that incredible?
Jeez. So yeah, I think I read something similar too, where it was, did they say 1 year it will return or 10 years it will return?
It said 1 year here, but talk about prophecies here.
Yeah, no doubt. 1980s. Well,
1980s.
I'm wondering if the FBI and Homeland Security has a close eye on whoever wrote that now.
Back then, I mean, I remember that because I'm older than you. Big Brother is always watching, they used to say. So
Fair
that
enough.
was Dean Koontz, if anybody wants to check it out. How have you been spending your free time outside of work?
Yeah, pretty similar to the last time, like I said. So playing some board games, went out on a picnic with my girlfriend this weekend, just trying to get outside, enjoy the nice weather, walks with dogs, whatever it is. And anything that gets me outside, and trying to exercise as well as much as I can with no gym, but
And board games, they made a massive comeback, and puzzles. Like even my sister and my cousins, and they're all writing me back from all over the place telling me that they're getting into puzzle. One of them has a 2,000 piece puzzle. That just blows my mind. I can't even fathom that. I mean, 200 pieces maybe, but I would never tackle 2,000 pieces. I'm the kind of guy that can't sit still. It's like squirrel, and I'm on to the next thing.
yeah, I don't know if I've graduated from the 48 piece puzzles yet. It's the back in the Aladdin and the Disney puzzles, the Jungle Books and the Lion King puzzles they used to play with. But yeah, it's cool to see all those things coming back, and especially locally, the new board game cafe is selling their board games now. I recently just saw a post, so that's cool to see that they're trying to adapt and everything, and not only rent their board games out, but also sell them, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. And speaking of the Okanagan locally here, I mean, there's some great stuff that's been happening, and some negative stuff that people aren't happy with. They closed all the provincial parks They closed a lot of the trails here in the Okanagan. I know obviously everywhere else, but we live here and this is what we're talking about. I mean, there's a negative and a positive to them closing the trails. I mean, they're trying to keep people away from each other. There's those scenes back in Vancouver where they haven't closed off the beach yet. So on the first warm day, there was a plethora of people within, a foot or two from each other, just taking over the whole beach. And that was seen across the country. And literally, I think it was like the next day, they just shut down all the parks. And we always have great weather here in the Okanagan, but this is the time when we start getting a lot of tourists, and we're not going to see the amount of cars on the highways that we normally see here in the Okanagan.
No, definitely not. I mean, they've kept some of our municipal parks open, obviously, because those are governed municipally and not provincially. But no, we're definitely already, when the weather warms up, usually you're starting to see more tourists and more traffic and everything. And it's definitely not the same. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with our tourism industry, because it is going to get hit very hard this summer.
Cool part is I like how people are going online. Like, our show could have been in a studio and on location, which eventually it will be. But people are doing this more often. And I got to give kudos to a few people here. The Kelowna Art Gallery is actually opening an online exhibit of a show called Geisha to Diva. So I got to commend them for that. There's a lot of people thinking outside the box and having to go online. So we can't go to an art dealership. We can't go to an exhibit of any sort or anything like that. People are bringing it to us, which I commend. Also, what I'd like to talk about is our food banks. They're in desperate need. If anyone's watching the show that lives in the area, and wherever you live, I mean, your local food banks need your help right now. There's a lot of people that are, a lot less fortunate than we are. And if we can lend an extra hand, I know what you've done, David, too, at your location. And there's other great restaurants throughout the Okanagan and everywhere else that's been, doing everything from, you buy a meal and we'll donate a meal. You buy a can of this, we'll donate a can of that. And if we can all continue doing that, that's really a tremendous feeling for you guys to have that when you do it. And more importantly, just helping your local man, your local neighborhood, I should say, and your fellow man. That there's a lot of people that we kind of don't pay attention to when we're all making that extra buck and driving in our car to get from A to B, because we don't notice what's going on in the world. We're all busy. But now that we have this extra time, take a minute and find out if there's anywhere you can volunteer, anywhere you can help, anybody that can come pick up something at you. It's spring cleaning right now. You might have extra furniture or food or whatever you find, kids' clothes, toys, anything that you can donate. Phone your local venues and see if they can come pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely the time to, when you're staying home, obviously, to look at the things that are kicking around, whether you can donate it or whether you're struggling financially right now, and that's something that you can actually sell that you haven't used in a while to maybe buy yourselves another month of expenses, whatever it is. So lots of opportunity out there, and if you are fortunate like myself that you were able to stay open, then it is also important, in my opinion, to look at ways that you can support the community and give back to the people that are struggling and maybe weren't as fortunate as we were. So, exactly.
And one of the things I forgot to mention too, going on the online events and shows, JCI in Penticton is doing their stay-at-home gala online. So that's a really cool thing. And that made me think about other events. I mean, there's a couple of events that I put on. The Vernon Comic-Con is usually the first Saturday in May. We're moving that to September. And then there's Okanagan's Got Talent, which became the largest talent show in the Okanagan. And the finale was supposed to be late March, but we bumped it to September. If we're not back to normal or close to normal, anywhere we can have the finale of this talent show that took 6 months to get to, I may consider doing something like an online finale, having the artists online with judges, and we adjudicate them this way. Just to finish off the show. I hate making them wait that long. All these artists have been working their butts off for so long, and they're still waiting.
No, it is tough. It's one of those. It's one of those things where it's gonna be difficult to know when you can come back and when it is safe to go back to normal and everything. So nobody wants to be obviously the first to do it, which is going to be very difficult. But one of the things I was looking forward to too was the lip sync battle, Peter.
Yes, we were supposed to start a lip sync battle as well. I mean, there's so many events, but like I said, the Okanagan's Got Talent it took 6 months to get from the first round to the finale of the semifinal. And then the finals was supposed to be March or the end of March. All this hit around the middle of March. People have been working their butts off for 6 months to get to that point. From 140 artists to the top 12. Took 6 months to get there. Now I'm making them wait another 6 months to do the one final show in September. I just feel bad about that. But everyone seems to be in good spirits and excited about it anyway.
Well, everyone's in the same boat too. That's the thing. So it's not like it's something that's happening just to them or something that you're doing. I mean, everybody is impacted by this, especially in the music and artists and creative industry. I mean, that's where a lot of people are making their money and everything. But it is amazing to see the people switch to this online method, online concerts, online shows, whatever it is. So it's very cool to see all of them adapt as well.
The man behind massive artists in Canada like George Canyon, Aaron Pritchett, Brett Kissel, and many others. He's won numerous country music awards in Canada. The president of Invictus Entertainment Group is Jim Cressman. Hello, Jim. How are you?
Hello.
Hey,
Good
Jim.
to see you.
Welcome.
Hey, guys.
How you doing, my friend?
Doing all right. You know, just enjoying some of the downtime that we're fortunate enough to enjoy during this crazy time. So yeah, it's spending a lot of time with the family and, you know, trying to stick to a routine and stay in shape and come up with ideas for the artists and keep everybody on the rails mentally. That's sort of been the goal the last little while.
Well, speaking of which, let's start from the beginning. How did you get started in the industry? By the way, Jim Cressman lives in Penticton, which is on the other end of the Okanagan, the beautiful Okanagan that we're promoting. But Jim, how did you end up in Penticton and how did you end up in the industry?
I grew up in Alberta, and I had worked in Calgary for a long time in broadcast journalism. So I worked for Country 105, which was one of the biggest radio stations in Alberta. I worked for Country Music Television for a little while. Through that process, I got to interview and know artists, and I just felt this powerful intrinsic desire to work even closer with them, and I found that I just had a bit of a knack for sales once I got into it. So it took me about 7 years to really hit my stride as an agent. And then eventually I bought out the agency I was working for in Calgary, which was called Kissel Entertainment Group, partnered with a guy named Ron Sakamoto. And we had a company called Cressman Sakamoto Agency for the following 6 years. And then I bought Ron out eventually and ended up with Invictus Entertainment Group, which is just a joint venture with my wife. And we've got 8 employees scattered throughout Canada. Most of them work from home offices. And then we have, I would say, another 6 to 8 contract people who go out on the road with our tours on a regular basis. And of course, those people are having a real rough time right now with the fact that there's no events allowed and obviously no travel at this time. So it's tough for them. For the rest of us, you know, it's difficult that there's no money coming in right now per se, you know, compared to what we're generally generating in terms of revenue. But it does give us time to launch or initiate projects that we've all been putting off. You know, and we all know what to do. We just don't know when to do it half the time, right? So
Exactly.
for a lot of my clients, they're like, well, I've been wanting to start a podcast. I'm like, well, guess what, bucko? Now's the time. Get that podcast rolling. So so that aspect of it, planning has been great because usually I'm on the road for about 150 days a year. And so when I get home, to be honest, I want to rest most of the time when I can. So this has just given me some time to really dig in and figure out where I want to take this company in the next 10 years and plan out a few moves ahead. And so that part of it has been great.
Awesome. And as far as the loss of revenues and stuff like that, have you noticed a lot of drop in like sponsorship and any like brand deals or anything like that as well?
Not so much. What we've done with those is if they were predicated on the artist appearing live within a certain period of time, we've just shifted those dates down the calendar so that we can fulfill those obligations. They'll just happen at a later date. And then we just started a program here at Invictus called the VIP Virtual Visit. And so what that is we're soliciting corporations and employers to have an artist drop in to either a Zoom call, Google Hangouts, or teleconference of some sort and do a quick acoustic performance, a Q&A, artist trivia, just stuff like that gives corporate morale a bit of a boost. It's probably hard engaging your staff, considering people have had to be home for over a month now. So we're offering that as a service. It's a bit of a revenue driver for artists, but more what it does is it just gets them front and center in front of people that, may not currently be a fan, but might be converted in the moment of spending, 15 or 20 minutes with them on a teleconference call.
Oh, totally fair. Now that's it's funny you're calling it VIP. Obviously the entertainment industry is a very glamorous industry. What's been your favorite part of the industry over the past years of you being in it?
Well, there's two things that still stop me in my tracks. One, when I promote a show, and usually what our company's famous for is we take big shows into small cities. So, we presented Carrie Underwood in places like Moose Jaw, Penticton, Prince George. We did Nickelback in Fort McMurray last summer. Kiss, we did through Spokane, Washington, which isn't necessarily a small town, but a smaller center. Abbotsford, Kamloops. Last fall, I did Sum 41 with The Offspring, which was a great punk package. If you're probably too young to remember the 90s, but the 90s and early 2000s, that was a hot package, and there was a really great nostalgia feel around it, and I love it. I love rolling into a town like Estevan, Saskatchewan, when I had Motley Crue play there, and just seeing the gas stations lined up and the hotels are sold out, and you can't get into a restaurant, and it's like a Monday night, and I come from small town Alberta. I was a farm kid, right? So when I roll into these cities and I see them so vibrant and excited and everybody's dressed up, and I get to be a fly on the wall. I get to observe them in a different light than the artists themselves do, right? Because they're recognizable, but I'm behind the scenes, so I get to see people and how excited they are in their element. And then that is multiplied 10 times when I go inside the arena and I watch people enjoying themselves and forgetting about all the problems that they might have in their life at that moment, and just absorbing every note of the music and singing along to every song. When I see that, it's something that really moves me. And then the other side of it that I really love, and the reason I got into it, is just planning out mile markers and milestones for an artist's career, and coaching them to keep them on track to achieve those objectives, and one by one knocking those objectives down, and sitting there at the beginning of the year and going, okay, we're going to go for this, this, and this. And then you achieve those things, or you surpass those goals. And it's just such an incredible, rewarding process to see an artist lighting up as they're literally starting to live their dreams. And then that manifests through their art, which generally gets better after that. So it's something I still obviously enjoy. I'm still very enthusiastic about it after 20 years. And I think a lot of people want to be in a position where they can love what they do, to the degree that I'm fortunate enough to after 2 decades of being in the business.
It's cool because you cut your teeth in the industry a different way. Because my past life, we're almost the same age, it was the same thing. I mean, I came in from Montreal, New York, lived in Calgary, and started playing in bands myself. And then when my last band broke up, before I started looking for another band, I got asked by all these musicians and singers, hey, can you get me a gig here? Or can you co-write a song with me here? And I think it was 2 years later, like it flew by like this, and I had a stable of artists that were in Vegas or Sweden or wherever. Like they were just touring and recording and all this. And it's the same thing, that feeling that you get when you guide somebody and then they get that wish that they had when you first met them, or at least a sample of it, is just like the biggest payback ever.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. So what aspect of the business and that side of it do you miss? Do you miss booking stuff? Do you miss negotiating deals?
That's the thing. As you know, I mean, you're a manager, an agent, a promoter. I wear all those hats. I mean, you have to be a marketing guy. You have to be the sales guy. You got to be the agent. You got to be a therapist, the publicist, everything. I miss it all. I mean, the best part for me was finding a diamond in the rough that nobody else believed in, nurturing that diamond, and then seeing it on a venue and on a big show or whatever, big stage, where that person that is standing next to you turns around and says, I saw that person 3 years ago, but I never saw the potential.
Right.
And then making that artist's
Right.
dream come true. Yeah.
So what's an example? What is your most, what's the artist that you feel you took the furthest, the fastest, and made the most impact with?
I worked with a lot of different artists. I worked with novelty acts, a hypnotist who's in Vegas daily, another hypnotist who's actually been named the best entertainer of the college circuit in the U.S. I worked with bands.
Who's that?
So Salish is the hypnotist, Anthony Cools, as well as
Yes.
a band called Plaid many years ago, Seventh Rain.
DJ Knowledge, who we toured with internationally, opening for Ariana Grande in The Weekend.
More recently, when I moved, just before I moved to the Okanagan, I was working with Christian Hudson, who had a top 30 single on the radio. And actually, my first summer here, I got asked to judge at the IPE. And what an emotional moment for me was one of the girls that was performing at the talent show sang Christian Hudson's song. And she didn't realize I was his manager at the time. So those little things, they just,
That's
you
pretty
just,
cool.
your heart explodes. It's an awesome feeling. And you and I were supposed to work together. I brought a couple of shows here to the Okanagan, and you and I were talking about doing a country act, and then all this happened. So keeping our fingers crossed that all this turns around and we can get back to the live music.
It will eventually, you know, and there's going to be some long-term implications. You know, I'm worried about how folks are going to be able to respond to the marketplace economically, because people just haven't had jobs, or you know, their positions have been eliminated. So you know, we're being very proactive in taking this time to reach out to all of our partners in the venues and see what we can do, whether it's ticketing deals, ticket prices, venue costs. You know, like when you rent a venue, obviously there's a cost to that. Seeing what we can do to work together as an industry to lower those prices, so we can lower the ticket to the end consumer, and you know, hopefully find a way to re-engage people, and you know, when it's safe and appropriate to do so. And we're hoping that happens sooner than later. Of course, we're learning new things about COVID every day, because it's a new thing, right? So nobody really knows exactly what's going on or how long it's been around. Obviously, it's been recent, but now we're hearing that there may have been some infections that we just didn't know about earlier than planned. So who knows where it'll all go, and it'll be interesting to see how we all look back on this in 3 to 5 years. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Actually, that was a question I wanted to jump on really quick, is where do you think the state of the music business is going to be, or the entertainment business is going after this? Like, what's going to be the new normal for the entertainment business?
Well, I think there's going to be a series of temporary new normals. So I think at some point the province is going to allow gatherings of 500 people. So small theater shows will be back on. And then it's going to go to 1,000 or 1,500. And then eventually, once it hits 4,000 to 5,000, I mean, that's my sweet spot anyway. So we'll be good. And then I think it'll take a while to get back to 10,000 plus. I think it'll be a while before you see big shows or NHL games in the major markets. But in between now and then, there's going to be some releasing and monitoring, and that's the way it should be, by the way. Like, you know, we all need to be prudent about this and understand that, you know, at the end of the day, mental health is imperative, and people do need to get out of the house, and they do need to network and bond, and they do need to be engaged by live music and events. But, you know, we want to keep everybody safe too, and we've all got a vested interest in that. So,
well, the sooner we nip it at the bud, then the quicker we can get back out there and enjoying live music.
Totally.
flatten the curve, not the economy. That's
Yeah,
the goal.
I couldn't agree more. As far as I'm happy to hear you mention mental health there, Jim, as well. It's definitely huge, especially with so many people being like at home and not able to actually go anywhere, making the odd trip to the grocery store. How are your artists specifically dealing with the self-isolation?
Well, it depends on the artist, because some of my more introverted singer-songwriter artists, who I call the reluctant messiahs, they're the people who are just so talented they couldn't help but get famous, but they don't really want to be famous. Those people, this could go on forever. They'd be fine. They're not struggling really at all, because they're sort of introverted by nature. But a lot of the people I work with as well are just natural born entertainers, and they're naturally extroverted. And so they're finding a way to reconnect with the fans through digital and online platforms, and doing their best to maintain their mental health and their desire to receive significance externally through that process. But, I've also urged them to keep themselves busy, keep their days full, set their alarms in the morning, get up, keep a schedule. And I think that I think broadly speaking, and I know that this sounds maybe very cliche, but in times of chaos and uncertainty, really the only thing that you can do to counteract that is to bring structure and certainty to your day, right? And the more you focus on that, the more you focus on the things you can control, the better it is ultimately, the better it is ultimately for your mental health.
That's awesome. That's true. One last thing here.
Yeah.
We're living in a digital age right now. Everybody's using this forum a lot more than ever before. Being a guy that lived in a bigger city, that moved to Penticton in the Okanagan, you knew even back then that you got a phone, you got a computer. I mean, you can still do business without having to physically be at every single place, right? And now it's obviously getting a little bit easier for you.
No, listen, Peter, I'm so glad you guys are doing this, because it's a great reminder during this time for people to really rethink where they could potentially do business from if they're at liberty to do business from home. And my wife and I were both living in Calgary in 2005 and 2006, and I'd lived there at that point for about 10 years. But she and I used to come out to the Okanagan on weekends, do the odd wine tour, stay over for a Saturday night, drive back to Calgary. And then one time when we were out here, it just dawned on me. I said, why don't we just buy a house, move the company out here? If it seems to impact business, we can always move back to Alberta. We know what that looks like and feels like. But I had an office in downtown Calgary, and I literally had no artists, dropping in most of the time for day-to-day meetings. I would usually meet them when they were on the road at their shows, or, which I'm attending now anyway. I'm just flying from a different airport. So we just realized that if we moved out here, we could probably do what we do. And fortunately, we've grown and exponentially every year, except for this year, of course. So far so good. And for me, it was just about, I know that my lifestyle on the road is going to be hectic and frantic. And I wanted to live in a place that was entirely and completely juxtaposed to that. I wanted to live in a place where, I'm 10 minutes from everything. There's no lineups to get anywhere. There's no traffic jams. It's serene, right? Living here is serene. So I really hope more entrepreneurs who are in a position to work from home take a look at the Okanagan long and hard and go, man, it's sure nice having that mild winter, that hot summer, and a real spring and a real fall.
Yeah, totally. And people are learning that. I think the new normal is going to be that. Why am I spending all this money in this massive office space where I'm still seeing productivity from my employees from home? There's going to be a lot of changes, I think, with the, with Zoom and with everything else that's out there and available. There's going to be a lot of people that might not need to fly to go to as many meetings as they had to, might not need all the staff being in the same office building. It's going to be a few changes, I think. And you're showing it.
Yeah, no. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, David. Really enjoyed our chat today. And hello, Okanagan.
All right. Thank you, Jim Cressman, for coming on today and sharing the insights. That was really, really cool to hear someone in the music industries who's as involved as he is, their take on what's going on, what the future is going to look like, and really what to expect in the future and what's happening currently.
Very insightful. And if you're going to have your first guest be somebody, I'm really happy it was our friend Jim. Well, until next week, my friend, have yourself a great week. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you all soon. Don't forget, follow us, like us, tell your friends and family about us, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you, Peter. You stay safe as well. And yes, guys, don't forget to like, tag some people, share, subscribe, all of the above. Let us know what your thoughts are. If you've got any questions, things that you want us to read on the show, any insights to what's going on locally, nationally, internationally, whatever we can talk about, let us know as well. So see you guys soon. Thank you for watching.
David, last week we did a virtual fist pump. Why don't we do a virtual chest pump this week?
Okay, sounds good. I'm ready
See
when
you,
you
brother. Take care.
3, 2, 1. Yeah, guys, smash that like button and make sure you subscribe or like our page to listen in and hear some more about what we have to say.